Ready.
Ready.
Go on.
Okay, fine. We've all listened, paid attention for 1 hour 24 minutes to the 2016 budget presentation from Private Gordon, who is the finance minister for South Africa. But what I want us to do is to do a recap, since we're doing a presentation in terms of budgeting. For us to do a recap in terms of the 26 budget, what did you learn from the 1 hour 24 minutes that we listened to the finance minister speak?
We need to be resilient.
Okay, number one, Bridget says we need to be resilient. Why do we need to be resilient?
We must be able to adapt easily. We must be flexible.
Okay, well, I'm happy you're on the right track, but what are the challenges facing the country at this present moment in time? What are the current challenges?
Our weak rand.
Okay, we've got a weak rand, inflation, drought, what else?
Unemployment.
Unemployment, what else?
Recession.
There is a possible recession as well.
Corruption, retrenchment.
Issues of corruption. Okay, there's slow growth in the global economy as well. How then do all of those matters affect us as South African people? How do they affect yourself? How do they affect us as individuals? Okay, so from that presentation, okay, okay. So unemployment is what is the current unemployment rate of the country? 32.6 are the takers. Unemployment becomes a major challenge because you've also got certain sectors or groups of people who actually also given up in terms of looking for employment. That's why the unemployment numbers also stretch and go to as high as 32.4% that she's highlighting from the official 25.2% in terms of the official statistics in terms of unemployment. She's spoken about poverty. Why then does poverty become a challenge in society? Why does poverty become a challenge in society?
Many people are not working.
So you can also take us a video when you answer.
Yeah, we must take them also. Why does poverty become a challenge?
It's going to lead to lack and scarcity. And it's going to also lead to depression.
Crime.
Okay, so the biggest challenge is people who've given up on life. How else can they fend for themselves? Then official crime statistics also become a very challenge.
High pregnancy rate.
High pregnancy rate. We heard from the minister in terms of the pressure, or in terms of social grant. What is the official budget that the minister has highlighted in terms of the official budget allocated to social grant for the 2016-2017 financial year?
11.5.
11.5% of, is it of GDP or what is the official figure?
The increase is 20 rand.
They're increasing it
20 rand.
Right, so do you see where I was saying people must write these things because it's important? Because the official figure in terms of social grant is increasing to 162 billion rand. So can you imagine from the tax base or money that you contribute towards tax, 162 million rand of that money is going to social grants. Okay, the minister also spoke of a very important thing that makes the 2016 budget of significance in terms of trying to change South Africa's rating by the rating agencies. He spoke of fiscal consolidation. Right, you can try and explain what fiscal consolidation is.
Not borrowing, like borrowing over what you can pay.
Don't borrow what you can't.
Okay, he summarized it very well. Number one, don't spend what you don't have.
And don't borrow. Don't borrow
Because
what you
remember,
can't afford.
what does the fiscal policy do? The fiscal policy in the presentation is simply saying, okay, SARS is collecting revenue so that it's used for public expenditure. It's used to create jobs for people. That's why you saw the whole budget is being split up to say of the 1.4 trillion that they budgeted for the 2016-27 financial year, that's how they're going to split that amount so that they stimulate economic growth. So fiscal consolidation, as they say, number one, we're basically saying to ourselves, we're not going to spend what we don't have. What's the second level of looking at fiscal consolidation? Don't borrow what you can afford. That's the second level of fiscal consolidation. What is the third level of fiscal consolidation? Right. Very good also. What we're saying to ourselves, if we don't increase our revenue base, then we can't be able to fund our expenditure. So those are the three levels in terms of what the finance minister was trying to elaborate in terms of fiscal consolidation. So that is what fiscal consolidation means. So as we try and link this to budgeting, it intertwines as well what budgeting means. What is budgeting? Linda.
So it's a layout plan on how much we spend.
Okay, so it's a layout plan in terms of how much you will spend, but what is the base for you to spend from? It becomes the revenue base. So we're basically saying we're receiving income, we're spending it, and we're looking at a time frame. You saw when we first said, it says this budget is taking a 3-year view in terms of strategy. So the government is going to take a 3-year view to try and reduce the budget deficit. Why do we have a budget deficit? Why does the government have a budget deficit? Or why do you have, or why can it also reflect on yourself to say you might also have a deficit in your personal finances? Okay, so if you earn 4,000 and you spend 5,000, what is your budget deficit? It becomes
Consolidation.
okay, so that is what fiscal consolidation seeks to do. It seeks to maximize revenue, control costs, and minimize wasteful expenditure. So those are the three levels in terms of trying to manage fiscal consolidation. Right.
Can you please repeat that?
Right. So fiscal consolidation is maximizing revenue. Are you writing? Maximizing revenue, minimizing costs and unnecessary expenditure, as well as streamlining unnecessary business operations so that the whole fiscal framework becomes sustainable. Streamlining unnecessary business lines so that you channel resources to productive sectors of the economy. If you are listening, they say they are going to redirect what? All of those investments that the government pursued, which are not making profits, they are going to sell their stake in those business entities and then direct the proceeds of those investments to sectors of the economy that really need the money.
They said they're going to cut the government expenditure.
Okay, so that's also part of.
Must be found in 2017.
Yes. So cutting government expenditure also becomes very fundamental in the process. Right. But what does the government use the money for? Let's look at government expenditure.
Paying for education.
Yes. What does the government use the money that they've collected for? Number one, education.
How much would I be?
Education. What else?
Infrastructure.
Infrastructure. Health.
Housing. Job opportunities.
Housing.
Higher education.
Education. What else?
Job creation for the youth.
Very good, job creation.
Transportation.
So transportation can also form part of
Expenditures.
infrastructure. What else does the government use revenue that it is collecting?
Water and what?
The country owes over 40 billion something.
That's what we pay
Right.
2 billion.
I'm sure
2
when
billion or 40 billion.
okay. So the Minister of Finance highlighted that we've got a budget deficit. So how then do you think the government will be able to fund that? Then that is where you've got private sector participation. Where you saying to yourself you're going to investors to go and look for the money to cover the deficit to do that. So if the government does not have money, it also borrows in the capital markets where it either looks at private sector participation or it goes and looks for investors to be able to what? To be able to fund that expenditure. That's why he said that in terms of government guarantees to date, they currently have issued about 462 billion in terms of guarantees. What is a government guarantee? We can try. What is a government guarantee?
It's like yesterday when we were speaking about business loans
Yes.
and the suretyship, like something that you, when you ask for a loan, then you get to give them something. Security, yeah.
Okay. So remember, the infrastructure projects that the minister spoke about, they are very capital intensive. When we talk of capital intensive, what we basically say is these things cost a lot of money to be able to finance. So when there is such a budget deficit, the government then issues guarantees. So whoever is the investor will say to themselves, okay, I'm willing to invest money in South Africa, but I need a government guarantee to say whichever capital project, be it ESCOM. Remember ESCOM was also went to the market to look for money. So when ESCOM goes and looks for money in the market to fund the power stations that they are building, they also go to investors. So when the investors come to ESCOM, then they say to them, we need government guarantees so that we ensure that whatever money that we're investing in the power utility, we are going to get back. So a government guarantee is the safest form of security because why? Why would that be a safe form of security? A government guarantee.
Because it's guaranteed.
Right. Who would you trust? Takunda or the government? Okay, so that is the obvious reasons why government guarantees are important. But in terms of fiscal consolidation, the minister also highlighted that they cannot continue funding the budget deficit using government guarantees. What else did they speak about? They spoke of SAA. What did they say is going to happen at SAA?
They're going to give them 1.6 billion, I think,
Okay, they are going to give them 1.6 billion to do what?
to connect for schools, hospitals.
Okay, so SAA is what? Let's start from there. What is SAA? Okay, so we are
That's
specific to South African Airways. What are the current challenges that we've had at South African Airways?
That deal, the 14 million deal that did not go.
Okay, so the deal did not go through because what? The finance minister said what? No. SAA does not have money to go and buy new aeroplanes. They would rather finance those aeroplanes through what? Through leasing. And what is leasing? It is the same form of thing where you go and buy a car and you pay monthly installments for it, as opposed to going and bring an outright purchase.
So, in your personal opinion, do you think that was a good idea?
Yes. In the long term, if you do, it's like saying to yourself you want to spend 40 billion rand as opposed to paying installments on a monthly basis when you don't have money. Which do you think is the best form of
But
finance?
don't you think
when
that
you don't have-
don't you think that they're going to pay more?
Okay, what is the advantage
I think they're going to pay more.
of a purchase and a lease?
A purchase is guaranteed to be on the own it. At least
Mm.
it's a once-off thing. You
That is
But
thing.
does
What if you don't
FNB
pay?
have the resources to buy those aeroplanes cash? What do they still need to do? They still need to go and buy.
Accumulate. So it's better that they list it out.
So the proposals were that they must lease the aeroplanes as opposed to doing an outright purchase. Right, so I'm happy everybody understands in terms of what fiscal policy is. Fiscal referring to revenue generation and then expenditure. So the budget, what it simply tries to do is to say, let's maximize and collect revenue using SARS, and then let's manage our expenditure so that we don't have a budget deficit. Because every time the government has a budget deficit, they have to go and borrow to be able to finance those activities. So that's why you found that they're saying that of all government departments, what did they say about corruption? Because corruption is also a very significant problem.
They need to eliminate it.
Okay, so elimination of corruption is also a key element of what?
Fiscal consolidation.
Of fiscal consolidation. So now we're talking about a very strong word that you must always understand. That is what a budget does. There must be fiscal consolidation, and I've broken the fiscal consolidation for you in terms of maximizing revenue, containing unnecessary expenses, and streamlining your operations so that you stick to business operations that create value. At the end of the day, what did we say companies exist to do? Make profit. So the government, though it's not a profit-making institution, must also ensure that all of those expenditures that you've spoken about, they've got sufficient money to be able to fund those activities.
So he says that currently our financial institutions such as the banks are in good standing.
Right. Why are banks in South Africa of good standing? We spoke of the financial crisis. Why are banks in South Africa of good standing?
Because there are a lot of people who go through the banks and borrow money.
Okay, he says there are a lot of banks people who go to the banks to borrow money. What else is significant in terms of financial sector stability? Remember we spoke of one of the functions of the Reserve Bank being financial sector stability outside of inflation targeting and in ensuring that there's balance in terms of the stability of the exchange rate of the rand. Why is the financial sector of South Africa stable?
Because there's no longer reckless spending.
Okay, very good. Number one, there's no reckless lending that is still operating within the market. What else is of significance in terms of creating stability? What issues did we speak about when we talked of stability? What determines stability in a bank?
Compliance.
Remember we spoke of policy. Remember the first topic that we did? All of those acts that we were talking about that are specific to the banking sector. And we spoke of why all of those regulations are there. It is to ensure that banks operate within the confines of the law. Number two, banks remain solvent. Because if you were to wake up tomorrow, you go to the ATM and you can't withdraw money and they say FNB is closed, it becomes a problem. So they must be solvent. Banks must be solvent. Banks must be able to pay all of those people that it owes as far as the whole cycle of events happens. Because remember, a bank borrows money from people or stakeholders and then it lends it out to people. So solvency of a bank is very important. So regulation as well as solvency issues, those are the issues that make South Africa a very stable environment in which to be able to do business. So the stability of any country is judged by the soundness of the financial system.
But I heard of the news that they're going to rate the South African financial system to give them a jump status.
Right. Why do you think we face impossible jump status?
Because of our range, the escalations, the way it's been dropped is so rapid. Because back in, like maybe in 2010, like from 1994, the then they said that South Africa is now a developing country, it's in the process of developing, and then it's been making progress. And then it came 2008, we faced possible recession, then we picked up again around 2010, 2012, and then we dropped again. Now we're dropping drastically, so we are staggering.
Okay, so the answer lies in saying to yourself, what determines investor confidence? If you had 100 billion rand to invest in South Africa, what would be your major concerns and issues that are happening in this country?
The government
Issues as well.
Okay, they've spoken of issues of corruption, leadership,
chaos in parliament.
right? Chaos in parliament.
Yes.
Malema.
Right.
Zuma
So,
changing finance ministers.
okay, so the biggest challenge in the country was when Zuma changed finance minister Nene and replaced him with Van Rooyen, and within 70 days he replaced him with
Fais.
But when he